their way of fighting back.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
On the other side of that coin, you'd say, but GameStop is a dinosaur that doesn't have an online presence, that you can't rent games online from anymore, that you have to, it's a brick and mortar, one of the last game stores is brick and mortar, and that it's an outdated way to do gaming.
Well, this is exactly what I told my son last night. I said, shouldn't it go away? He goes, Dad, the problem is this company's been trying to restructure itself for the last year, but these hedge funds have destroyed all its capital. He said what they've been trying to do is to get into online gaming, and they've been trying to create more and buy esports, but they haven't been able to because they don't have the cash flow. He said what we're doing is going to allow GameStop to completely rebrand itself and to stay as a viable company.
Well, if it works, works, good for them.
Well, but here's the thing: on Reddit, there are people who go really in depth to it, and you're again, this is a really important thing. To this generation.
The problem on Reddit that I've seen, and this is where it gets a little murky, is yes, you can talk about stocks all you want. They do it every day on CNBC, MSNBC. Forbes magazine has a blog that you can go watch and everything. You can talk about stocks. There have been people on Reddit, buy, now sell. We need to sell in the next hour. We need to sell in the next hour.
Absolutely.
That's illegal.
Well, not necessarily.
Nobody on CNBC. Nobody on CNBC tells you in the next hour you need to sell all your stock of GameStop.
There are a lot of bloggers, and there are a lot of investment companies that do the exact same thing. They just do it on a one-on-one basis,
which is perfectly legal.
So, correct, and there's nothing to say this guy talking in a Reddit post, which is completely freedom of speech. He has every right to do that.
It is not freedom of speech. That's where people get wrong.
Why isn't
freedom of speech? See, this is constitutional teaching moment here.
Sure.
Freedom of speech only implies that you cannot be prosecuted by the government.
What is illegal? If I say right now, look, I think to sell it right now.
The way the legislation is written right now, that's illegal. Because the legislation, by the way, is not prepared for the way things can move on the internet.
Has that ever been prosecuted?
No, but they're looking. New York's looking into it.
Right. I get it. But to me, if you're going to prosecute on this, every time someone, any celebrity, anybody with any followers at all, says, yeah, hey, I just bought or I just sold stock in this company, they're going to go to jail.
100%. Martha Stewart did.
No, that's not what Martha Stewart went to jail for. She went to jail for insider trading.
Which is what this is, according to the New York.
No, it's not.
No, I'm just saying, according to the New York AG, that's what they're looking into: insider trading and pump and dump.
Yeah, and again, just go ahead and do some research on the New York AG.
Oh, no, they're going to protect the hedge funds, of course. They're going to protect the hedge funds, of course.
Correct.
I'm just saying there's murky water. This has created a murky water situation.
But this is why I'm for it. When Rush Limbaugh opens up his show and says everybody should be buying GameStop, you know the average purchase, the amount that people are spending on GameStop is less than $100. Like my son's like, yeah, I just put in $100. I'm like, that doesn't even buy you a share. He goes, doesn't matter, Dad. It's the point. And this is this generation's movement because they're sick of it.
Well,
right?
and
I think it's fantastic.
Well, I will tell you this, though. It's not a free speech issue. Once again, free speech can only be prosecuted. The only people that can be prosecuted for free speech, the only way it's not prosecutable is the government itself cannot prosecute you for saying anything wrong against the government or saying anything derogatory. But people say, oh, I can say free speech. And if you say, like, I can say whatever I want on on this microphone. I could say anything I wanted, but because I work for the Martones, the repercussions are they could fire me for it.
Well,
that's not free speech.
Yeah, but you're not being prosecuted for free speech. That is most certain. You can be held accountable.
But people always say, people say, you can't stop me from saying that. It's my right, free speech. No, it's not your right. It's free speech.
Hold on. What you said is wrong. You cannot be stopped from saying anything. You can be held accountable
certainly
for everything you say.
But people say people always say my boss. People sued companies. People have sued companies.
The argument.
No, I'm not.
The only
person that free speech guarantees you no repercussions from is the government. Everybody else, there's repercussions for anything you say for anybody member except from the government. That's free speech.
Okay, so the AG is part of the government. So you think you're okay with this one guy who's on Reddit, or let's just say there's 100 of them on Reddit, telling people when to buy and sell. You think they should be prosecuted, whereas the people who do it openly on CNBC and on Forbes and John Kramer, they should get away with it because they're not part of the
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is people
prosecute these guys. If they do prosecute these guys, you are really going to see a movement.
All I'm saying is that I'm just saying that the thought of free speech gets misinterpreted 99% of the time. That was my argument.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on your interpretation of that, and that's not what the argument is about.
No, it's not what the argument.
Free speech.
No, the argument is not about free speech. But
free speech is very clear. Very clear. I studied it in college. It's very clear. I can say anything I want.
Anything you want.
The government can't stop me
100%.
unless I incite a riot.
100%.
Or violence. You know, it's been proven I can't yell, and I cannot be held accountable by the government. I can't go to jail for it.
By the government.
So that's the end of the story. I know that if I say something ridiculous about Dan's head, he could say, Galen, you're never going to be on my airways again.
Which by definition is not free speech.
Okay, all right, whatever. Okay, I can't. Okay,
it's just not.
That's where you're wrong. But there's no way we're ever going to overcome that argument. I think the whole GameStop thing has nothing to do with free speech.
But you said earlier that it's their right, free speech-wise, to put it on Reddit. It's not free speech.
You know what? Precedent says it is, because precedent says it's done every single minute of every single day. People are giving their advice on whether to buy or sell a stock. And if the Attorney General of New York is going to go after some kid or some person who's on a Reddit post for saying when to buy or sell or hold, then Katie barred the door, because we're going after all of them. There are people who do nothing on Twitch but give stock advice as to when to buy and when to sell and when to hold.
And by the legislation in effect today, that's illegal.
Okay. All right. Well, then they need to go after everybody on CNBC. They need to go after everybody.
No, because on CNBC they don't tell you when to buy, sell.
Yes, they do.
They don't tell you. They don't tell you in the next hour go buy. They don't tell you that.
Every time Kramer says whether a stock is going to, he says it all the time. He's got a button that says buy. He's got a button that literally says buy,
but it doesn't say buy in the next hour, dump in the next hour.
Doesn't matter.
That's pump and dump.
There's no difference. There's no difference.
Well, the AG of New York's going to test it to see if there's a difference.
We'll see. Only if these guys happen to be residing in the city of New York.
Well,
they could be in Australia. They could be in Canada.
We'll see.
And good for these people.
You're an anarchist, Galen. That's what it is. You're just an anarchist.
I am. I hate the government. I have been very vocal on my beliefs of the federal government is inherently evil, and our job as citizens is to control our government. And our government's gotten to the point where we can They're telling us what to do and what to wear and where we can and cannot go and what businesses should be open and cannot be open. So a church has to be closed, but a liquor store, well, that's a necessity.
Well, I mean, I don't know what church you go to. I don't know what church you attend. I'm a Catholic. My Catholic church and my liquor store is open.
Well, then you need to pay attention as to what happened in New York where they were arrested.
I don't live in New York.
Well, you should be. You know what? Remember, what they do somewhere else, they're going to eventually do to us.
50 individual countries that come together as a United States.
It doesn't. You know, it doesn't quite work that way because the federal government has all authority.
They don't have all authority. They think they have all authority, but they don't have it. No, they don't. Or if they had all authority, there'd be a national mask mandate. We'd all be wearing masks right now. They don't have that kind of authority.
But what they haven't, because the president hasn't been in charge long enough. You know, he signed it, right? So you have, anytime you go into federal land, you have to wear a mask.
Right.
Whether it's
Post office
outside or not.
Yeah.
Correct.
Post office.
Right? So what he's going to do
I don't go
next,
to the post office. It's antiquated.
He's going to withhold funding for these states that are not mandating a mask.
Right, and if he's
That's
not,
coming.
but he's not going to. He
coming.
will not be able to. No, it's not, and I'll tell you why.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not, and I'll tell you why. Because too many states will then disavow what the president says and still not enforce it. There are too many states that will not do a national mask mandate, and he's not going to cut off funding to 30, 35 states. He is not. He can't. It is not practical to do that. He can bluster that he's going to do it, but it's never going to happen.
They do not care about practicality. They care about power. They've already stated, Health and Human Services has already stated, the first thing they're going to do is pull back Health and Human Services funding from these states that don't comply. That's already been publicly stated.
And then the states will go to federal court, and the federal judges will tell the federal government the safety. See, people are saying they're going to cut vaccines. That's the first thing they're going to do. They're not going to do that.
No. They're not going to cut vaccines. They're going to cut funding, right? The Health and Human Services funds all kinds of things.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood.
Like Medicaid,
okay.
Medicare. Yeah, and there's people in the community that care about that.
I don't use Planned Parenthood
because we gave them that authority.
I pay for my doctors individual.
Sure. No, actually, you don't. I mean,
I do. I'm on a cash basis. I'm on a cash basis with my doctor.
Well, we could talk about that. Your doctor's in existence because of Medicaid, Medicare. There is not a doctor alive in the United States unless he's working with an uber rich, who the backbone of his practice isn't propped up by the federal government and their allowance.
There's no way he would mess with Medicare. Medicare would be a political death knell if they mess with Medicare funding.
What do you mean? They've already talked about it. That's what they told Trump was going to do. They're going to, trust me, these people are so sick with power. These politicians at all levels are so sick with power, they do not care about the ramifications because they just won an election.
Well,
trust me.
Well,
you go ahead.
I guess shame on me. Shame on me. Hold on. Shame on me for thinking that the checks and balances system will work. Bad Tom for thinking that something that for 244 years will work.
When's the last time it worked?
It works every time the Supreme Court strikes something down.
Go ahead. They can. They've already said that executive orders are legal, right? And Joe Biden has signed more executive orders in the first week than the last 5 presidents have done in their entire terms. There's nothing legal. There's no check and balance to an executive order. He's going to just write in that he's going to give citizenship to 11 million people.
And that will be found. That'll go all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will strike it down.
Well, but until then, those people have citizenship. And we know that process can take 3 to 5 years.
So can citizenship.
Well, not the process of getting the citizenship, because we could just say, look, you can go get an ID. When's the last time a massive government overreach, we could take, you know what? We could take the Health Care Act, the CARES Act. How long did it take before that was called illegal? And then all they did is they rewrote the law to say, okay, we're not going to tax you if you don't do it.
Hey, Galen.
Still exists.
Galen, where's the Bloodmobile today?
That's a good question. We're actually at the villages out in the Walmart villages. Good conversation.
All right, pal. Hey,
The government is bad.
I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you Monday after your son makes millions on GameStop today.
He's up $45 because that's all he can afford.
Well, there you go. How old's your son?
19.
Well, $45 is a bunch of money. Thanks, Galen.
Sure is. All right, bye all.
See ya. WOCA, the source.
2 Arizona inmates who escaped from prison around 5 days ago were captured in a cotton field Thursday morning. 49-year-old John Sharpiat, convicted of